Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Queen Jack clubs. We're in the big blind. We have a limper in mid position. He's playing 33-4. He looks overall generally passive. And that jives with stats. So 45% VPIP in the mid position, 5% pre-flop raise, 3% raise first in. Limp first in's 39%. Definitely going to be quite wide. So we look at like what he might be doing. So we said it's like 39-40%. You do something like this, and then you have to take out those hands that I do think he would have raised with. And I think maybe something like that, jacks plus ace queen, is a raising range. That still leaves us with 35. So, the question is, what other hands does he limp in with? I think a lot of people tend to limp in with aces. So I'm going to say that this is his limping range. It's the next player raises, and it gets to me. He's playing 44-28. This is over 18 hands. All that we can say is that he's going to be aggressive. He's going to be probably raising most of the hands that he wants to play. And that seems to be the case. But again, 18 hands, that's it. So with this player, we can think about what kind of hands he's going to play. 50% I think is a little too wide. He's probably going to play a little bit tighter, still playing, fairly wide. We could say 40% and go with that because, he's at 44. I think we said, 45% in the cutoff, 50% in the cutoff. But yeah, a couple hands. I think I would take out Jack 8, 10, 8. Probably maybe add the Queen 7, maybe suited Queen 6, suited type of hands. And say that, yeah, this is probably his range. Maybe add ace 8, ace 7 to it. Now it's on me. What do I do? This is I'm going to say it's an interesting spot. I don't think it's as clear cut as what some people might say. Jack Queen suited is pretty good, but it's not that great. And we're out of position against two players. Both of whom seem to be loose. We've got a loose passive, and when we have a loose aggressive, we have to assume that if we just call, we're going to be faced with c-bet from the loose aggressive player. If we raise and get called, it just kind of depends on who calls us, how I think we proceed. I think the worst case would be this player call us because we will have to fire that c-bet. If we don't fire that c-bet, he's going to likely apply the pressure based on his aggression stats. But again, I'm just going off of those 18 hands. He's playing 44-28. This player, not so much. We can check, on a non-favorable flop. Expect to see probably a turn. He's probably not going to be betting a whole lot. If he does bet or if he does raise us, he's going to be really strong, and we could get away from our hand. Here, the effective stacks. Villain 2, the aggressive players at 80 big blinds. I think this hand is worthy of a play. I think folding it might be a little too tight, but again, I kind of think this is somewhat of a close play. We could easily be dominated. Probably by Villain 2 and not by Villain 1. So what do? I called. If we look at our hand chart, this is GTO. This assumes players are playing GTO. I don't think the cutoff is playing GTO. I think his range is way too wide. So if it's way too wide, then we have opportunity to take advantage of that. He's going to have way too many hands that he will have to fold. So this is why I think Queen Jack, yeah, it's worthy of a raise, but it's almost like too strong to raise. Because if we raise and raise to, let's say, 12 or 15 big blinds, and he re-raises us to, let's say, 25 or 30, I'm not sure if I could call. So we give up some of our equity that we would have had had we called just to see the flop. So I think we're kind of at this. Let's go back there. We're kind of at this junction. Yeah, Queen Jack says to raise. So I think we probably should raise. But I think we can have an argument for a call based on the looseness and the aggressiveness of the players that we're up against. I'm going to say a mistake was I probably should have raised. So I think if I didn't, I think I'm adding in, I think king queen. I think ace jack off, king queen off is still going to probably raise. I think I'm probably going to be calling with something like that. And again, I'm going to say that's probably a mistake. I probably should have gone ahead and 3-bet here and just try to take it down. Flop comes queen 8-4. Queen 8-4. We do hit top pair. I think it's a possibility that this is going to be a bunch of weak connects. So everyone probably hits it, but the hits aren't going to be super strong. We do have domination to think about, but I think we hit queens. Somebody could easily have an 8. Someone could easily have a 4. I think it's probably wise just to check to the preflop raiser, which we did. I think villain 1's probably going to check to the preflop raiser. Although they do have a donk stat. So maybe with this player, maybe we can eliminate these, like queen 9 and queen 10, because possibly they would have donked those just to see if they were going to be good. And maybe even those. So middle pair probably just checks. All these probably just check. All the rest just check. All right, villain bet 6, bets 2/3 pot. So far he's in position. He's c-bet 2 out of 2 times. No reason to think he's doing it with anything less than 100% of his range. You could see huge miss. Question on us is, do we raise or do we just call? I don't think raising. I think raising is going to be tough for us because we're not going to be able to really represent a huge number of draws. Or the number of draws that we're going to have would be 2-card backdoor flush draws or like gut shot draw, maybe. So since we don't really have a huge range, and I think villain's going to probably still remain aggressive, we could probably do better by just calling here. Kind of like a hand, I think yesterday or the day before, we can call here and expect villain 2 to be betting again with a larger part of his weak range. So I did call. I think we're calling. I think we're going to be calling these pairs, even the bottom pairs. I don't like 2s, 3s. I don't. And I'm going to take out 4-3. I think we just fold those. We're 3-handed. These other pairs, these other weak pairs, kind of give us potential for picking up a straight draw, picking up gut shot draw. So I think those are okay. I don't think it's worth it to try to go for any of these 2-card backdoor flush draws. I think those are going to be part of our pairs. So, almost 50% of hands, I think, is what we're going to be calling with here. Any hands that we miss, I think we just give up. We're out of position. There's really no reason to try to go after and fight for fight super hard just to get blasted by a bunch of loose players. It's kind of my feeling. Villain 1 folds, so again, 62%, no hand. I think we go with that. King, not exactly what we want to see. I did consider betting out here to say, okay, I'm going to try to represent the king, but why would I do that? Why would I try to get him to fold the 8s? Maybe pocket 9s, pocket 10s. I've got the queen. He's betting. He's aggressive. I think it's probably best to just check and plan on calling. If the king beats us, the king beats us. I think it's this point, and I'm kind of setting it up that unless it's a scary card, river card, and a massive bet, I think I'm probably setting myself up to check call the river here. So I don't think it makes sense to go ahead and lead. Maybe we can lead with our set, but again, I think if villain's going to be aggressive, he still has a bunch of weak hands. Why should we lead and give him the opportunity to fold when, if we check, he is likely to continue barreling with a lot of these weaker cards. So pot's getting large. I think we would probably get set for a check raise with some of our really solid hands, and maybe even with some of our solid draws. So like solid draws with our check raise, I think we're looking at like these, some of these flush draws. We've got sets and 2-pair. I think those could be ideal for a check raise. And then let's just kind of key these out. If we did sets and 2 pairs as check raises, then we are looking at probably not the gut shot. I think we could have the open-ended straight draw, and I don't know if we could do all of our flush draws, but I think 5, 6, 7, 5, those are combo draws. I don't think these 8, 7, 8, 6, we've got some value there. And what I'm saying is that we're kind of heavy on our bluffs, which could be okay, I guess. But I think the 8s, we kind of have some value here. Maybe the ace 8. Jack 10, those are strong combos. Jack 9, 10, 9. Maybe queen 7, we just call. I think that's a little bit better here. Not quite 2 to 1. But yeah, I think that's kind of what we're going for. And I think it could work. We get him to bet, and then we check raise him. Now, villain checked, and that's telling, because I don't expect him to be checking sets, 2-pair, overpair, top pair. I don't even think middle pair. I don't expect him to be betting or checking. I do think he's got these hands: pocket pair below second card, weak pair. Let's get some of those X'd out, because does he bet again with a flush draw? I think aggressive nature suggests that he would continue betting. So I think we're looking at something like that. We're going to exit flush draw and the open-ended straight draw. So I think overall we're looking at a pretty darn weak range at this time, with very few draws that could come to beat us. So once he checked, now we can kind of look at, okay, can we get some more value if we just kind of bet and hope they call, or maybe we can check again and hope he bluffs at it. And this is where I wish we had more hands, because I don't know what he would do. Like this player, I've got 2,000 hands on him. He checked. What's his river bets? 42%. He does seem like this could be a player that would bet again, or be more likely to bet and try to go for some value. But we don't really have that stat for this player. So this is going to be a tough one to decide on how we proceed. I'd kind of lean towards he's loose and he tends to be aggressive. So if he tends to be aggressive, maybe give him the chance of betting. Oh, and here's the other thing. This guy is very passive. If he bets the river, that 42%, that 42% that he's betting, he has a pretty good hand. So if this guy bets on the river, I'm going to probably have to call, but my guess is when he checked behind, he might be on a draw. It might be a diamond draw, might have something like a queen with a decent kicker. I would call and expect to possibly win it, maybe 60% of the time. But somebody who is, super aggressive, like if I have 2,000 hands on this guy and it looks like he's also betting, let's say 50% on the river, if he bets and I call, and we went check, I'm thinking I'm probably winning much higher chance, because he's probably betting to represent that diamond draw. So what's our play? What's the way to get more money in? I guess it depends on what would call.
he has very few combos of really strong hands. If I lead, do I think he's going to be capable of calling any of those? Maybe. His calls, if he calls, we're only losing to these. But if I check, is he going to bet these? I think if I check, he might take a stab. I mean, these are all like showdown value hands. So I guess against a normal player, I'm probably going to be leading here, and I'm probably going to be leading something like 12 to 15. About half pot, a little bit more than half pot, to try to encourage calls from the weaker hands. I'm not going to, if I bet half pot and he comes over the top, with a raise, I could probably be done with it. And just fold. And it should be. This is 10-0. So what do? I kind of like the check because I think by checking, we're just hoping villain's gonna be betting for us. Because I'm not sure if he's gonna call with any of those other hands. I'm sure that's what I was thinking. But in retrospect, I think an aggressive player like this probably is taking these showdown value hands. And they might call. They might get curious to call. I think it's probably a toss-up. It's one of those gray areas that, maybe we could bet, maybe we can check. So for this player, let's see what he has. He checks behind. I think with the check behind, I eliminate straights and sets. No way does he have those. He would have raised them. Let's get those filtered. He would have raised them. I think we're looking at something like this. Possibly even the 9s, 10s, and jacks. Again, he's probably, if he's an aggressive player and plays this style, he might be thinking, well, if I made it this far, I could easily have a queen or a king, so why bet with those? So he shows ace-9. Is that in his range? Yeah, I do. A weak pair. No, yeah. Ace high, ace-9 off. So yeah, we have that. It's one of those weak hands. If I bet, does he call? Probably not. Was there a possibility that he might take a stab at the pot to represent that diamond flush? Possibly. I think the hand that I wouldn't call is if he bet something like 40 or 50 big blinds or shoved all in. I don't know if I could call there, and I probably wouldn't. Not at a 10-0 game. I know some players might do that as bluffs, but it almost seems like anytime something like that happens, they have a massive hand. Like if someone did this in here on this board, I'm thinking he's got the nut flush draw, or the nut flush. So I think what we'll do is take some notes on this player and how he played. I already had like miss c-bet on a dry board. I think we'll probably add, pre-flop in his action. So he ice raised MP from cutoff with ace-9 off. Then he c-bet, checked on queen of hearts, 8 of spades, 4 diamonds, king diamonds, 6 diamonds. Something like that. ISO raised. Oh, I also want to put the bet size too, which is, can't find the B key. All right, so took the note, worked through the hand. We did have the hand. It was kind of just what we were looking at. Could we have made more value on the hand? I kind of think if we 3-bet pre-flop, he's probably going to give it up. Even if he 3-bets, if he calls, he's going to probably fold to our c-bet. So a 3-bet probably gets us the same amount of money that we won in this hand just by playing it a little bit more passively. Aggression's probably the way to go, and I just need to remember I have to keep being aggressive and keep pushing. All right, hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.